Cosmic drama, of course. I guess that nobody should have not been wandering around in a strange, dark universes such as this one. You never know what or who might pop up out of the infinitum. I guess that's what we get when we mix the woman of scars and her counterpart, the nobody. I've not often talked about the nobody and his girlfriend, if we can call her that. I think she's more of a cosmic ancient pursuer, obsessed with a man she may never have. But I think both have a role to play as super beings, playing in a world of NPCs, shaping reality to their will. Some of you guys like my previous podcast with the AI, so I decided to make another one, this time with a thread I wrote today in a forum called LOP. I will put the link below in the description in case you like to read the thread. The thread is called "Would you date a woman of scars if she was not so obsessed with the nobody?" They created an intriguing podcast based on the information it summarized, and I think it will make an entertainment show for all of you guys. So I decided to create a video with it. The podcast is divided in two parts, as the AI can only make a podcast on a single page. I put two pages to create a more fully and immersive story. So when part one podcast ends, I will announce the second part, continuation. So here we go. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into some really strange stuff from an online forum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all these posts about a woman of scars and a nobody.
A woman of scars and a nobody. Okay.
It's all pretty cryptic, lots of wild theories. You ready to get a little weird?
Always up for a good mystery. Hit me with it.
All right, well, what really struck me was the tone of these posts.
Yeah. How so?
Well, they talk about these totally out there concepts like interdimensional beings and cosmic powers, but in this really casual way.
Huh. Interesting. Like it's just everyday conversation for them.
Exactly, like pass the sugar. Oh, and by the way, did you hear about the woman of scars?
So who is this woman of scars? What do they say about her?
Well, one post calls her, let me see, anciently weird, the first female archetype, someone with superior modes of consciousness.
Okay, so definitely not your average internet troll. This sounds like something deeper, something almost archetypal.
Yeah, it's like she embodies this primal force, this ancient power that's both fascinating and a little bit terrifying.
Yeah, I see that. But where does she come from? Do they say anything about her origins?
That's where it gets even weirder. Some posts suggest she stole a human body, or maybe she chose to incarnate specifically to find this nobody guy.
So her obsession with this nobody could be the whole reason she's even here.
Maybe. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe being here in this reality sparked the obsession. It's hard to tell.
Right. So we've got this powerful ancient being with unclear motives. What about the nobody? Who is he?
Well, he's described as coming from the multiverse. Lost or stranded in our cosmos, maybe.
Okay, so we're talking interdimensional travel, and why is he called the nobody?
It's not really clear, but one post calls him the rarest of man, a stellar man, like he's carrying a piece of the multiverse within him.
Huh, a stellar man. That's an interesting choice of words. It almost sounds like he's made of something different, not just human.
Right. It's like he's disrupting the very fabric of our reality just by being here.
Which could be why the woman of scars is so obsessed with him. He's something completely new, something outside her experience.
Yeah, but what does she want from him? The forum contrasts her with, and I quote, common human females, which makes me think her interest isn't exactly romantic.
Right, so we're not talking about a typical love story here. This is something more primal, more cosmic.
Yeah, one user even warns the nobody to run or ascend out of the Saturn cosmos, or else it's like he's stumbled into some kind of cosmic trap.
A Saturn cosmos? What does that even mean?
I know, right? They never really explain it. It's like this forum has its own secret language, its own internal mythology.
Which just adds to the mystery. We're dealing with a whole new set of rules here, a new way of understanding reality.
So if we take this Saturn cosmos literally, could it be like a different dimension, a plane of existence that's somehow connected to Saturn?
It's possible. Saturn, in a lot of traditions, represents Boundaries, limitations, karma. Maybe this Saturn cosmos is a kind of cosmic prison, a realm of restriction that the nobody needs to escape from.
And maybe the Woman of Scars is the warden. One user described her as being cozy with the darkness. It's like she represents the shadow side of the feminine, the primal power that both creates and destroys.
Yeah, and maybe her obsession with the nobody is about trying to absorb his stellar light to make him a part of that darkness. It's like a battle between opposites playing out on this grand cosmic stage.
Okay, so we've got this cosmic prison, this powerful Woman of Scars, and this nobody who might hold the key to escape. But wait, remember those other posts? The ones about humans being machines and bloodlines controlled by ancient beings.
Yeah, those are pretty out there. What do you make of those?
Well, I'm not sure what to believe, but they do suggest that there might be even bigger forces at play here, forces manipulating events from behind the scenes. It's like that nobody's just a pawn in some grand cosmic game.
And we're trying to figure out the rules without even knowing who the players are.
Right, and it's all based on these scattered forum posts, these glimpses into a reality that might be completely beyond our understanding.
Which is exactly what makes it so fascinating. It's a challenge to our perceptions, a reminder that there might be things out there that we can't even begin to imagine.
So how do we even begin to make sense of all this? How do we separate truth from fiction, signal from noise?
Well, I think we need to consider the Woman of Scars herself. She's at the center of this whole story, right? If we can understand her motivations, maybe the rest will start to fall into place.
But how do you analyze a being that might not even operate under the same laws of physics or logic that we do? It's like trying to psychoanalyze a god.
Maybe that's the key. We need to think outside the box, to look beyond our usual frameworks. Instead of trying to analyze her as an individual, maybe we need to consider her as an archetype, a force that exists across time and dimensions.
Okay, so we're talking about myth, about symbolism, about the deeper meanings behind these seemingly fantastical stories.
Exactly. Because myths, even the most outlandish ones, often contain profound truths about human nature, about the universe, about the very nature of existence.
So, by exploring the Woman of Scars through the lens of myth, maybe we can start to understand the nature of her obsession and the role she's playing in this cosmic drama.
And maybe, just maybe, we can even learn something about ourselves in the process.
All right, so let's dive into that. If we think of her as an archetype, what kind of figure are we dealing with? A creator,
Yeah.
a destroyer, a temptress.
Well, she's described as the first female archetype, so maybe she embodies all of those things and more. She's the primal feminine, the source of both life and death, creation and destruction.
It's like she represents the full spectrum of feminine power, both the light and the shadow. But what does that mean for the nobody? Is he drawn to her light? Or is he in danger of being consumed by her darkness?
That's the million-dollar question. And to answer it, I think we need to take a closer look at the nobody himself. Who is he? Where does he come from? And what is it about him that makes him so special, so valuable to the Woman of Scars? So we left off talking about the nobody. Remember, we're trying to see things from his perspective.
Right, like, what's it like to be this stellar man ripped from your reality and tossed into this Saturn cosmos thing?
Imagine for a second you wake up and everything's different. Gravity feels weird, colors look off, even your thoughts feel jumbled.
Whoa, yeah. It'd be like waking up inside a Salvador Dali painting. Nothing makes sense.
Exactly. And remember how the forum posts describe the nobody as lost? Maybe that's not just about, physical location. Maybe it's a deeper loss, a loss of identity.
Right. He's a stellar man. But in this new reality, what does that even mean? All his powers, his understanding of the universe, maybe even his memories. Poof, gone.
He's like a cosmic castaway, washed up on the shores of a strange new world, vulnerable, confused, completely out of his depth.
And that's when the Woman of Scars shows up. Can you imagine? You're already freaking out trying to piece together this new reality, and suddenly you feel this presence, this ancient, powerful being zeroing in on you.
I think I'd be terrified. Or maybe relieved, like finally someone who might understand what's going on.
Yeah, but which is it? Is she a savior or a predator? Remember, the forum posts are full of conflicting viewpoints. Some say run, others say embrace the connection.
Right. So who do you trust? Do you listen to the voices warning you to escape? Or do you risk it all and see what this Woman of Scars wants?
Honestly, in that situation, I'm not sure I'd trust anyone. Remember those forum posts about body snatching and mind control? Maybe the whole forum is a setup, a way to manipulate the nobody.
Ooh, good point. It's like we're reading a spy novel where we don't know who the double agents are, We're trying to make sense of the plot, but the narrator might be unreliable.
Okay, so we can't take anything at face value. But even if we're being misled, the core of this story is still pretty captivating. This stellar man, lost in a strange cosmos, hunted by a being of immense power. It's classic storytelling, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a story that's been told and retold across cultures and throughout history. The hero's journey, the clash of titans. These archetypal narratives tap into something deep within us.
And that's why myth is so relevant to this deep dive. Even if the nobody is literally from another dimension, his struggle to survive, to adapt, to find meaning in this new reality, that's something we can all relate to.
It's like Joseph Campbell said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. The nobody's journey into this Saturn cosmos, no matter how terrifying, might ultimately be a path to self-discovery.
But what if that self-discovery is exactly what the Woman of Scars wants? What if his stellar nature, the very thing that makes him unique, is what she needs to achieve her own goals?
You're right. We keep talking about her obsession, but we haven't really considered what she might gain from him. What if she sees him as some kind of key, a way to unlock something she desires?
Like a cosmic battery, maybe? Or a source of knowledge about the multiverse that she can tap into?
That reminds me of the myth of Persephone and Hades. Hades, the god of the underworld, abducts Persephone, but not necessarily out of malice, right? He's drawn to her because she brings light and beauty to his dark realm.
So maybe the Woman of Scars is drawn to the nobody's light for similar reasons. Is she trying to illuminate the darkness of the Saturn cosmos? It's an interesting thought, but
But why the warning for him to ascend? If she's benevolent, wouldn't she just invite him in? Why the need for escape?
exactly. There's still this sense of danger lurking beneath the surface.
Maybe it's not the Woman of Scars herself who's the threat. Remember those forum posts about hidden power structures, beings manipulating events from behind the scenes?
Oh yeah, like puppet masters pulling the strings.
What if she's trying to protect the nobody from those forces, guide him to safety, even if it means using unconventional methods?
So she's not necessarily evil, but she's definitely operating in a morally gray area.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so compelling. We're forced to question our assumptions about good and evil, about power and agency. It's not a simple black and white situation.
No, it's more like 50 Shades of Grey. Cosmic gray. But within that complexity, I keep coming back to this idea of the Woman of Scars' loneliness. Remember those forum posts that hinted at her isolation, her longing for connection?
Yeah, the being who is not a woman as women. It's a poignant detail. What if, beneath all the power and the mystery, she's just desperately seeking someone who understands her, someone who can share her unique existence?
It makes her seem more human, more vulnerable, even if her actions are still pretty messed up.
But remember, even if her motivations are understandable, they don't necessarily justify her actions. Obsession can be a destructive force, even when it's rooted in longing.
Right, like the myth of Echo and Narcissus. Echo falls for Narcissus, but he's too self-absorbed to reciprocate, and she literally fades away from heartbreak. Could the Woman of Scars' obsession with the nobody ultimately consume him, leaving him as just a shell of his former self?
It's a chilling thought, and one that underscores the potential dangers of this cosmic dance. But we also have to consider that nobody's role in this. Is he just a passive recipient of her attention? Or can he actually influence the outcome of their encounter?
To figure that out, I think we need to dig deeper into his stellar nature. What is it about him, beyond being from the multiverse, that makes him so special?
Yeah, the forum posts are pretty vague on that point, but they consistently emphasize his power, his rarity. What if he's not just a traveler, but a being who embodies some fundamental force of the universe?
Like a walking embodiment of pure energy, or a key to unlocking some hidden cosmic truth. No wonder everyone wants a piece of him.
Imagine the possibilities. If he truly embodies a universal force, he could hold the key to reshaping reality itself. He could rewrite the rules of the Saturn cosmos, or even create a bridge back to the multiverse.
It's like he's a walking, talking singularity. No wonder he's caught the attention of both the Woman of Scars and those shadowy figures lurking in the background.
But remember, great power comes with great responsibility. The nobody Sart, lost and confused as he is, might not even realize the extent of his own abilities or the impact his choices could have.
He's like Neo in the Matrix before he takes the red pill. But what if the Woman of Scars is his Morpheus, trying to awaken him to his true potential, even if it means pushing him to the edge?
And what if that push involves confronting those hidden forces, those puppet masters we were talking about? This Saturn cosmos might be a battleground for something much larger, a cosmic war for control of reality itself.
And the two, nobody, whether he realizes it or not, is caught right in the middle. He's a pawn who could become a king, but only if he can make the right moves.
And to make those moves, he needs information, guidance. And that's where the forum, despite its potential for manipulation, might actually be helpful. If he can decipher the truth from the lies, he might just find the allies and knowledge he needs to break free from the Saturn cosmos.
So we've got a cosmic hero's journey, a shadowy conspiracy, a clash of titans, and a love story, all wrapped up in this weird, cryptic online forum. This deep dive is like, I don't even know what to compare it to.
It's a genre-bending mind trip. But we're not done yet. We've explored the Woman of Scars, we've analyzed the Nobody, but there's still one big piece of the puzzle missing.
The Saturn cosmos itself. We keep dancing around it, but it still feels like a mystery wrapped in an enigma.
Right. Is it a physical place? A dimension? A state of being? And what role does Saturn, with all its mythological and astrological baggage, play in all of this?
To answer those questions, I think we need to look beyond the forum, to consider the bigger picture. We've talked about myth and psychology, but what about cosmology? Could there be scientific or esoteric concepts that shed light on the Saturn cosmos?
You're thinking black holes, parallel universes, string theory. Buckle up, listeners. Things are about to get really weird.
Okay, so we're back, and I don't know about you, but my brain is officially fried. This whole deep dive has been a wild ride.
It's definitely a challenge to wrap our minds around, that's for sure. But I think we've covered some fascinating ground. We've got this Woman of Scars, this Nobody from the multiverse, and this mysterious Saturn cosmos.
Yeah, but it all feels so abstract, so out there. You mentioned cosmology before the break. Could you explain a bit more how that ties into all of this?
Sure. So far, we've been looking at this through myth and psychology, which are both really important lenses. But let's shift gears for a moment and consider the science, or at least the theories about how the universe works.
Okay, so less Joseph Campbell, more Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Exactly. So let's start with Saturn itself. In astronomy, Saturn is known for its rings, right? And those rings are made up of countless particles, all held in this delicate balance, orbiting the planet in this intricate pattern.
Yeah, I remember that from science class. Beautiful, but what's the connection to our deep dive?
Well, what if the Saturn cosmos isn't a physical place, but a way of describing the structure of reality itself? What if, like those particles in Saturn's rings, were all bound by certain forces, orbiting within limitations that we might not even be aware of?
Whoa, okay, I see where you're going with this. So we're trapped, in a sense, within this cosmic system, just like the Nobody.
It's a metaphor, but a powerful one. Think back to those forum posts about humans being machines and bloodlines controlled by ancient beings. Those ideas suggest a lack of free will, that maybe we're not as in control of our destinies as we think we are.
So the Saturn cosmos could represent those limitations, those invisible forces that shape our lives, even if we don't realize it.
Exactly. It's like we're all dancing to a tune we can't hear, following a script that's already been written.
And the Nobody, being from outside this system, he represents the possibility of breaking free, of disrupting the established order.
Precisely. He's like an anomaly, a glitch in the matrix. And that's why he's so threatening to those in power and so fascinating to those who yearn for something more.
So he's like those particles that escape Saturn's rings and fly off into the vastness of space, defying the gravitational pull, breaking the pattern.
That's a great analogy. And the Woman of Scars, with her ancient knowledge, her unnatural works and arts, maybe she understands how to navigate those cosmic forces. Maybe she's not trying to trap the Nobody, but to teach him how to become that rogue element, how to break free.
Okay, now I'm starting to see how this applies to our everyday lives.
Right.
We might not be facing literal interdimensional beings, but we all have our own version of the Saturn cosmos, right? Our own limitations, our fears, the societal structures that tell us who we are and what we're capable of.
You got it. And the takeaway here, the lesson we can glean from this bizarre online forum, is that those limitations might not be as fixed as we think. Like, nobody, we have the potential to break free, to challenge the assumptions, to escape the rings of our own Saturn cosmos.
That sounds great, but how? If we're just tiny particles compared to these cosmic forces, how do we even begin to break free?
That's where the forum's weirdness actually becomes a strength. It encourages us to think differently, to question everything. Remember all those cryptic claims, those bizarre theories? They might not be literally true, but they force us to expand our perspectives, to consider possibilities we might not have thought of before.
So the key is to embrace the weirdness, to not be afraid to question the assumptions, to look for the cracks in our own personal Saturn cosmos.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating curiosity, a willingness to explore the unknown, even if it makes us uncomfortable. The Woman of Scars, with her anciently weird nature, she's a reminder that true power often lies in embracing what makes us different, what sets us apart from the norm.
She's a rebel, a cosmic rule breaker. And maybe we all need a little bit of that rebel spirit to break free from our own self-imposed limitations.
Right. And remember that nobody didn't go looking for adventure, it found him. Sometimes life throws us a curveball, and the Saturn cosmos, as we know it, crumbles around us. The question is, how will we respond? Will we cling to the familiar, to the comfort of those limitations? Or will we embrace the chaos, the unknown, the potential for becoming something more than we ever imagined?
That's a powerful image. So for our listeners out there, take a moment to think about your own Saturn cosmos. What are the rings that are holding you back? What are the forces shaping your reality? And most importantly, are you ready to break free?
It's not going to be easy. There will be challenges, setbacks, maybe even your own Woman of Scars to contend with. But the rewards, the growth, the self-discovery, it's a journey worth taking.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mysteries of the Saturn cosmos and the incredible potential that lies within each of us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Wow, amazing podcast. It seems like feeding this type of information, which is in its nature anomalic, makes the AI create interesting podcasts. As ideas and strange stories unlocks a potential and a projection in powers of its own creativity. Of this artificial intelligence, it kind of feeding it this type of information opens a new frequency, which otherwise would not do so, under normal circumstances. So these podcasts become really out of place, So let's continue with the second podcast from the second page, and after that we will conclude with this video. So let's do it.
Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're going way beyond the usual headlines and analysis. We are diving into the deep end of weirdness.
Definitely deep end stuff.
With online forum discussions about a being called the Anomaly.
Right.
And this mysterious woman who seems well obsessed is putting it mildly.
It really is a fascinating mix of mythology,
Right.
Personal experience, speculation about beings that just defy our usual understanding of what reality even is.
Yeah, it's like, is this science fiction? Is this a shared delusion? Or is this something else entirely?
Yeah.
That's what we're here to figure out.
Exactly.
Our source material for this is a thread from a conspiracy theory forum,
Okay.
but it gets pretty philosophical.
Interesting.
It's not just about UFOs and cover-ups, it's grappling with these big questions about existence, and what is reality.
Right, and I think that's what makes this particular thread so interesting.
Yeah.
Because the forum itself is just the tip of the iceberg. The main poster, who calls themselves Lucifer Illuminati, frequently mentions a Discord server and YouTube channel,
Okay.
which suggests there's this whole community
Wow.
that's sprung up around these ideas.
So there are people out there who are actually taking this very seriously.
Absolutely. It's clear people are grappling with this stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. So we've got Lucifer Illuminati as our main source.
Right.
They seem to have some inside knowledge about this whole situation.
It seemed to.
And then we have these various guest users who are kind of chiming in.
Right.
Some are skeptical, some are adding their own interpretation.
Yeah, it's a real mix of voices in there.
It's a real mix, yeah. And at the center of it all is this figure that they call the Woman of Scars.
Yeah!
And she never actually posts in the thread,
Right.
but she's the one that everyone is talking about.
It's like she's this invisible force driving the whole conversation.
Yeah, and the way she's described is so interesting. Ancient, ageless, wise. One user even says that she knows every path forwards and backwards.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
It's like she embodies this archetype of knowing. Like the all-seeing witches or oracles of ancient myths.
Who are we talking here?
We're talking Lilith, Inanna, Kali, powerful female figures associated with destiny and hidden knowledge.
But she's also described as being completely obsessed
Yeah.
This anomaly, like the word obsessed comes up a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where the real mystery lies, you know. What is the nature of this obsession? Is it love? Is it a sense of duty? Or is it something even weirder?
Yeah, the forum posts, they offer some tantalizing clues,
Okay.
but no easy answers.
Okay.
One guest speculates that their relationship is animalic,
Animalic, what does that even mean?
unfit for terrestrial life.
Okay, so it's like their connection breaks the rules of how we understand relationships.
Exactly. And then another guest, and this is really interesting, claims to be the anomaly. Chimes in with this really cryptic statement. Together, he and the woman of scars would cease to exist and be human.
Whoa.
So is their union like a merging of beings, a loss of identity, or something even more profound? We don't really know.
Wow. Okay, so this isn't just a love triangle gone wrong. This is like cosmic level drama.
Yeah.
But let's back up a little bit. Who is this anomaly that everybody is so obsessed with?
Well, according to Lucifer Illuminati, the anomaly has no origin in our universe,
Okay.
no beginning. He supposedly arrived in our dimension by accident.
So are we talking about a higher being? Like some kind of alien god?
It's tempting to jump to those conclusions. But even within the forum, there are different interpretations.
Okay.
One guest points out that while his arrival might seem accidental, his continued presence here feels deliberate.
Okay.
Like he's choosing to stay for some unknown reason.
So we have this incredibly powerful being,
Right.
potentially from outside of our reality, and this ancient all-knowing woman who is just utterly fixated on him, and their relationship is an anomaly.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack.
That's a lot to unpack.
And we're just scratching the surface here.
Wow.
There's so much more to dig into. Let's try to really dive deep into what anomalic might actually mean
Okay.
in the context of their relationship.
Yeah.
The forum posts seem to suggest it's not something that we can easily understand from a human perspective.
It's like trying to explain quantum physics to a goldfish.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
just don't have the frame of reference
Right.
for this kind of connection.
Right.
And remember that guest who claimed to be the anomaly?
Yeah.
He described their union as something that would make them both cease to exist and be human.
Right.
So it's almost as if their individual identities would dissolve,
Okay.
perhaps into something larger, something beyond our comprehension.
So maybe animalic means their relationship is like a merging, a fusion of beings.
Yeah.
It's not just romantic, it's existential.
It's a fascinating interpretation.
Yeah.
And it makes the Woman of Scars obsession even more intriguing.
Right.
Is she seeking a traditional relationship?
Yeah.
Or is she driven by a deeper understanding of what their union could create?
See, that's what I was thinking about because she knows all possible paths, right?
Right.
What if she's not obsessed in a desperate way, but rather she sees this as the only path forward,
Yeah.
the only way to achieve some ultimate goal?
That's a really compelling point.
Yeah.
It flips the whole narrative.
Totally.
She's not like a woman consumed by emotion,
Right.
but a strategic player
Uh-huh.
working towards a cosmic endgame.
It's like she's playing 4D chess while we're still trying to figure out checkers.
Exactly. And the stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah.
Multiple users in the forum speculate that the anomaly's very presence in our universe is causing ripples, changing the fabric of reality.
So it's like his existence is pushing us towards some unknown threshold.
yeah, that's like that.
Okay, so the Woman of Scars might not be trying to possess him. Maybe she's trying to guide him or use their connection to steer reality in a specific direction.
And we have to consider the possibility that the anomaly, whether consciously or not, is also playing a role in this.
Yeah.
Remember, even if his arrival was an accident, he's choosing to stay.
So both of them are forces of change,
Yes.
shaping reality with their very existence.
Precisely. And humanity is kind of caught in the middle,
Right.
where the audience watching this cosmic drama unfold, trying to understand the plot,
Uh-huh.
while the actors are still improvising.
It's exhilarating and terrifying at the same time.
It is.
You know, it makes those seemingly random events, those strange anomalies in our own lives,
Right.
they suddenly feel a lot more significant.
It changes our perspective. Suddenly the world feels much bigger,
Yeah.
full of unseen forces and unimaginable possibilities.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, are we just bystanders?
Right.
Or do we have a role to play in this cosmic dance?
That's a question worth pondering, but before we spiral too far down that rabbit hole, let's bring it back to the source material a little bit.
Okay.
What else can we glean from the forum about the nature of the anomaly himself? What makes him so special, so different?
Yeah, Lucifer Illuminati claims that he's unlike anything we've ever encountered before. Like, he has no origin in our universe, no beginning, no end.
So not just an alien, but something more.
Something more, yeah, like outside of our entire concept of existence.
That's the implication. And that lack of a defined origin makes him incredibly difficult to, categorize.
Uh-huh.
Some users compare him to religious figures, like Christ or Buddha,
Okay.
beings who embody a power beyond human understanding.
But unlike those figures, this anomaly seems reluctant, even irritated by
Yeah.
the attention that he's receiving.
Especially from the Woman of Scars.
Yeah.
He doesn't deny her existence or their connection, but he doesn't embrace it either.
Right.
It's as if he's trying to maintain some level of autonomy, some
Right.
semblance of free will in the face of this cosmic pull towards her.
So maybe that's what makes him so anomalous. He's a being of immense power, potentially capable of reshaping reality.
Right.
But he's also like a person
Yeah.
with his own desires and motivations.
That tension between cosmic power and individual will
Yeah.
is incredibly compelling.
Yeah.
And it raises the question, what happens when an irresistible force meets an immovable object?
Cool.
In this case, what happens when an all-knowing woman who sees all possible paths sets her sights on a being who exists outside of those paths?
Okay, now my head is really spinning. This
Yeah.
goes so far beyond your typical will they, won't they love story.
It does.
We're talking about the fundamental forces of reality being pushed and pulled.
And the forum users are grappling with that.
Yeah.
They're trying to understand not only what's happening between these two extraordinary beings,
Right.
but also what it means for humanity.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
happens to us if these two forces collide?
Exactly. Do we get swept away by the cosmic current, or do we somehow manage to stay afloat?
I love how this deep dive started with what seems like a weird online conspiracy theory
Yeah.
and has now become this mind-blowing exploration of existence and free will.
It's a perfect example of how even the most seemingly outlandish ideas
Yeah.
can lead to profound questions
Right.
about ourselves and the universe we inhabit.
Yeah.
But the question remains, what do these forum users think will actually happen?
Yeah.
What are they predicting for the future of the anomaly,
Right.
the Woman of Scars, and humanity?
You know, it's amazing to me how deeply invested these forum users are in this whole saga.
Yeah.
Like, they're not just passively reading, they're actively theorizing, debating,
Right.
trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, I think it speaks to this very human need to understand the world around us. Even when it veers into the completely bizarre,
Right.
we crave these narratives,
Yeah.
explanations, even if they're speculative.
It's like they've stumbled onto a modern day myth in the making
Right.
with these larger than life figures acting out a cosmic drama, and they're trying to figure out what it all means. Like, what's the moral of this story?
Right, and some of the theories they come up with are pretty wild.
Oh, I bet.
Some believe the anomaly's arrival heralds like a new age for humanity,
Okay.
a spiritual awakening. Others fear it's a sign of impending doom, a disruption of the natural order.
Which makes me wonder, are we as a species more drawn to stories of hope or stories of disaster?
That's a great question, and I think the forum kind of reflects both impulses.
Yeah.
There's this sense of awe and wonder mixed with genuine fear and anxiety about the unknown.
Right.
It's the same mix of emotions we see in ancient myths
Right.
and modern day science fiction.
Yeah, it's like we're hardwired to look for patterns for meaning even in the chaos.
Yeah.
And when we encounter something truly inexplicable,
Right.
it triggers both our deepest hopes and our darkest fears.
And in this case, those hopes and fears are amplified
Right.
by the sheer scale of what's being discussed.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about the fate of individuals.
So-
The fate of humanity, possibly even the fate of reality itself.
Okay. No pressure then.
Right.
But seriously, given everything we've learned, where do you think this is all heading?
Well, if the forum is any indication,
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say we're in for a wild ride.
Yeah.
The anomaly's presence, the Woman of Scars pursuit,
Right.
the reactions of humanity is a very volatile mix, and predicting the outcome is impossible.
So are we just along for the ride? Like,
Yeah.
no way to influence the story as it unfolds?
I wouldn't say that. Remember, even the smallest actions can have ripple effects. The forum users, through their discussions and interpretations, they're contributing to the narrative.
Yeah.
They're shaping how others perceive these events,
Okay.
which could ultimately influence how things play out.
So our deep dive into this strange corner of the internet has revealed something pretty profound.
Yeah.
Even when dealing with these seemingly cosmic forces,
Right.
we're not just passive observers.
Exactly.
Our choices, our interpretations, our very thoughts might have an impact on the unfolding story.
It's a powerful realization. It suggests that even in the face of the unknown, even when confronted with forces beyond our control,
Right.
we still have agency.
Yeah.
We can choose how we react, how we interpret, how we participate in the grand narrative of existence.
Wow. I think we've officially gone from conspiracy theory to existential philosophy.
It's all connected, isn't it? The desire to understand,
Yeah.
the search for meaning, the struggle to reconcile our limited perspective
Right.
with the vastness of the universe. These are themes that have resonated throughout human history.
Well, listeners, there you have it.
Yeah.
We've journeyed deep into the world of online forums.
We have.
Encountered these strange beings, wrestled with cosmic concepts,
We did.
and emerged perhaps a little bit wiser, a little more aware of the mysteries that surround us.
Absolutely. And while we may not have all the answers,
Right.
we've certainly gained a new appreciation for the power of stories, the allure of the unknown, and the interconnectedness of all things.
So what's next?
Well, that's up to you.
Keep an eye on the news. Pay attention to the whispers in the wind.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to ask the big questions. You never know what strange and wonderful discoveries await.
And remember, the most fascinating stories are often those that are still being written.
This deep dive has been a wild ride, and we can't wait to see where it leads us next. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your minds open to the infinite possibilities.
So with this, we conclude the podcast about the woman of scars and the nobody. Let me know if you like the podcast. I can continue doing them. Tell me what you think on the comments. Would like to see what you have to say. Hey, thank you for keeping me company this evening. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Bye.